Hi, I'm Hannah, and I'm going to be taking you through the hosting experience on BigMarker today. What you see right here is the live webinar room as a host, and I know I'm a host because I see this host control panel here to the right. Now, there are 4 different parts of BigMarker in the hosting experience that we're going to be going through today, and let's just cover those quickly. So the first is the presentation screen. This screen is going to be visible to both you and the attendees who are attending your webinar. This is where presentation slides will go. If you're sharing your screen, it will show up here. And also, if you're showing a video or your own video feed, it will also show up here as well. We'll add a few things to here in a moment, but just letting you know ahead of time that this is where everything will be shown. Next, we have the Chat, People, and Poll tab, and this is the second part of the webinar hosting experience. The Chat, People, and Poll tabs are easy ways to connect with your attendees during your webinar. In the chat function, this is our public chat, which will allow you to communicate with your audience. If I said hello and posted, it would show up in the chat, and both you and your attendees would be able to see those posts. You can also tweet from the room and connect chat with Twitter. Next, we have the People tab, and this allows you and your attendees to be able to see who is attending the webinar. Now, if you don't want people to see the chat or the People tab, we'll get to that in a moment in the host control panel. But for now, that's where you'd see where the attendees and the chats would show up. Finally, we have the poll section, which allows you to create new polls and poll your audience. Third, we have all of our sharing options here at the top. This will allow you to share your mic, camera, your screen, a file such as a slideshow or image, and even YouTube videos. Then we have the host control panel, which is only visible to you as the admin or host of the webinar. Now we'll get to all of the host control panel in a moment, but let's get back now to the presentation screen. If I were to share my microphone and microphone only during the entire webinar, I would click Mic On, and it would gather my profile image, or if I didn't have a profile image, it would gather my first initial, and it would show that I was speaking here in this green audio bar. As you can see, it moves forward and back to show that I am speaking. My audience would also see this, and if there were anyone else sharing their microphone in the room, such as a co-presenter, they would be shown here as well. Now, if I wanted to share my camera, I can select off for my mic. Click here. And here I am. Hello, hello. As you can see, I'm a little injured, but nonetheless, you can see me. My audience would be able to see me as well, again here in the presentation screen. Now, if I were to turn that off, again, nothing would be shown there. And if I were to be sharing a presentation, so for example, a file, I have this one kind of pre-uploaded here. I could also go to Browse Files and select a new file, but I have this PDF slideshow here that I can open, and it will open right into the room. Again, my attendees and I would be able to see this, and as a host, I can also click through my slides and my attendees would see those changing in real time. If I were sharing my video feed at this time, I would have a video camera here at the top, or if multiple people were sharing their videos, there would be a few different video feeds shown at the bottom. Now, if we were only sharing our mics, you wouldn't actually see our pictures like you did before in this presentation screen, but you would still hear us talking. And you'd notice who was talking. Here at the top, it says, Hannah, Team BigMarker is talking. And if anyone else was talking, then you would see it there as well. Another cool feature in the presentation screen is that you can draw. Just go up to the top here and select from off to on, and you can change the color of what you'd like to draw with, and even the brush size. And I can draw a nice little heart here for my attendees to see. I can always undo that or redo it if I wanted to. Just letting you know that feature is there, and it does work great as a highlighter tool as well if you wanted to highlight text. If at any time I wanted to share a different file and then go back to my previous slideshow that I was sharing, I would just click Share File again, reopen my slideshow, and it would take me back exactly to the place where I had left off previously. So don't worry about getting lost between your slides. It will save your spot when you return. Now I can go to Play YouTube, and this will allow me to play, you guessed it, YouTube videos in the room. I already have another one uploaded here, but if I was just choosing one from the web, all I'd have to do is copy and paste the YouTube link here, click Add Video, and it would be added to the presentation slide. Or I can just upload mine now as it's already pre-uploaded and click Play when I wanted to play it. Please note that all of your audience would be hearing the audio here as well, but I'm wearing headphones today, so you are not able to hear it in this session. I can pause the video, adjust the volume as well, and also remove it at any time. Now for screen sharing, I can select the tab that I want to share. So maybe I will select my BigMarker home page. And when I'm ready to screen share, I select Share Screen. Select the screen that I'd like to share, so I can choose if I want to share my entire browser screen or just one tab or window, and click Share. I'll know I'm sharing my screen because it will say On Air and tell me that I'm sharing my screen. And then when I share my screen, I just go to the page and select whatever I'm sharing and continue with my mouse movement. When I'm ready to stop screen sharing, I just click Stop Screen Sharing. It will ask me to confirm, and then I'm back to a blank screen. So that's all of the sharing capabilities that you have in the room. Let's move on to the chat. So we've already covered that you can chat and tweet live through the room. And to add a hashtag, all you have to do is go up to this Connect Chat with Twitter, click Learn More, and add the hashtag that you want to add for your desired event. Please note that adding a very generic hashtag, such as #webinar, is going to pull in all of those tweets from Twitter using the #webinar, which can get a little overwhelming. So I definitely recommend using a hashtag that's more specialized to your event. Next, people and poll. Again, we kind of mentioned earlier that chat and people could be hidden. So let's go on now to the host control panel. And you'll see here, in the audience permissions, there's two functions auto-toggled to green or on, and two that are auto-toggled to off or gray. The first two, Show Attendee List and Enable Public Chat, are both auto-turned on. And what these mean, Show Attendee List, is again, in the People tab, I would be able to see who else is in the room, and then the attendees would also be able to see who is attending the webinar. If you didn't want your attendees to be able to see who is attending, simply turn this off and they would not have access to viewing who is attending in this People tab. Moving back to chat now, if I wanted to disable public chat, meaning that attendees cannot chat publicly during the webinar, then I could also turn that off. And if at any time I wanted to turn those back on, I could turn them on and it would be re-enabled for my attendees. Next, we have attendee mic disabled and attendee cam plus mic disabled. And these are great for a meeting tool if you have a small audience where you want everybody, including your attendees, to be able to share their mic and cam, but not so great for larger scale webinars where you have lots of attendees. And the reason being is if I were to turn those on, it would allow anyone at any time in my attendees section to be able to share their microphone or their camera during the webinar. Now, if I wanted to turn those off, but I wanted to give individuals maybe access to sharing their microphone or camera, I can scroll down and list it in the attendees section of my host control panel. There would be listed the names of the attendees, and next to their names, they would have some icons looking very similar to the ones next to my name in the admin section that I could click and enable their microphone. Now, this won't turn on their microphone or camera automatically. Instead, it just gives them access to be able to share. So then they would have to share it themselves using these icons at the top of the screen. Next, you'll see that there are 3 different levels of controls in the room: the admin, presenter, and attendee. Now, admin, we've kind of covered a little bit in saying that admins are the only ones with access to this host control panel, meaning that nobody else in the room would see it except for admins. As an admin, I can share all of these functionalities at the top, and I can also manage the room, such as deciding if I want to disable public chat, record my webinar, or even in my advanced settings, decide if I want to broadcast in HD, hide all tweets, etc. Presenters are one step above attendees, and that means that they have access to their sharing capabilities at the top, including screen sharing, share file, and YouTube, but they don't have access to this host control panel. And when you add a presenter outside of the webinar, they will enter just as a presenter unless you give them admin access. Or if you wanted to make them a presenter in the room during the live webinar, there will be an icon next to their name, just here to the right of this camera icon with 3 dots, kind of similar to this icon. And when I click it, it allows me to select if I want to make this attendee a presenter or an admin. Finally, in attendee section, these people do not have access to anything unless granted, so they won't see the host control panel, and they won't see these icons at the top of the screen. The only thing they'll be able to see is the presentation and the chat. So that's all for today's session, and if you have any questions, please feel free to email support@bigmarker.com. Happy hosting!